After studying this module, you shall be able to know the meaning of conduct disorder, identify the clinical picture, prevalence, and causal factors of conduct disorder, evaluate the treatment of conduct disorder. Conduct disorder is another externalizing disorder. It involves a persistent, repetitive violation of rules and disregard for the rights of others. The symptoms of conduct disorder must be frequent and severe enough to go beyond the mischiefs and pranks. These are common among children and adolescents. These behavior includes aggression and cruelty towards people or animals or damaging property, lying and stealing. Often the behavior is marked by viciousness and lack of remorse, making conduct disorder during childhood one of the criteria for adult antisocial personality disorder. Clinical picture and prevalence of conduct disorder. Conduct disorder is defined by the impact of the child's behavior on people and surroundings, school, parents, peers, and the criminal justice system usually determine which externalizing behavior constitute unacceptable conduct. Many children with conduct disorder display other problems such as substance use and delinquent acts. Conduct disorder children show deficits in social behavior. In general, they manifest such characteristics as overt and covert hostility, disobedience, physical and verbal aggressiveness, quarrelsomeness and destructiveness, lying, stealing, and temper tantrum are common. Such children tend to be inclined towards sexual aggressiveness. Some may engage in bullying, fire setting, vandalism, robbery, and even homicidal acts. Conduct disorder children are generally comorbid for substance abuse disorder. Anxiety and depression are common among children with conduct disorder, with comorbidity estimates varying from 15 to 45%. Girls with conduct disorder may be at higher risk for developing this disorder, including anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and ADHD, than are boys with conduct disorder. Knock in 2006 suggests that conduct disorder is fairly common with a prevalence rate of 9.5%. Review studies suggest that prevalence rate range from 4 to 16% for boys and 1.2 to 9% for girls. Both the incidence and prevalence of serious law breaking peak sharply at around age 17 and drop in young adulthood. This study is conducted by Moffitt in 1993. He has theorized that the two different courses of conduct problems should be distinguished. Some people seem to show a life course persistent pattern of antisocial behavior beginning to show conduct problems by age 3 and continue to commit serious transgressions into adulthood. Moffitt proposed that the adolescent limited form of antisocial behavior is the result of a maturity gap between the adolescent's physical maturation and her opportunity to assume adult responsibility and obtain the rewards usually accorded such behavior. The life course persistent type is 10 to 15 times more common among boys than in girls. Children with the life course persistent form of conduct disorder do indeed show an early onset of antisocial behavior that persists through adolescence, and these children have a number of other problems such as academic underachievements, neuropsychological deficits, family psychopathology. These findings replicated across cultures. The original sample from which Moffitt and colleagues in 2000 made the life course persistent and adolescent limited distinctions have now been followed into early adulthood. Age 26. Those who have classified as life course persistent continue to have the most severe problems, including psychopathology, lower levels of education, partners and child abuse, and violent behavior. However, these classified as adolescent limited who are expected to grow out of their aggressive and antisocial behavior have apparently not done so. The participants, now in their middle 20s, continue to have trouble with substance abuse and dependence, impulsivity, crime, and overall mental health. Additional follow-up of these sample will help us learn whether or not these maladaptive patterns get better towards the later 20s or early 30s. The prognosis for children diagnosed as having conduct disorder is mixed. Conduct disorder in childhood does not inevitably lead to antisocial behavior in adulthood, though it certainly is a predisposing factor. DSM 4TR criteria for conduct disorder. This disorder is a repetitive and persistent pattern of behavior in which the basic rights of others or major age appropriate societal norms or rules are violated, as manifested by the presence of 3 or more of the following criteria in the past 6 months. Aggression to people and animals, often bullies, threatens or intimidates others, often initiate physical fights. Often they used a weapon that can cause serious physical harm to others, and they has been physically cruel to people, and they has been physically cruel to animals, and they has told which confronting a victim, and they have also forced someone into sexual activity. Destruction of property, has deliberately engaged in fire setting with the intention of causing serious damage, has deliberately destroyed others' property. Theft, has broken into someone's house, building or car, and they often lies to obtain goods or favors or to avoid obligations. They have stolen valuable items without confronting a victim. Serious violation of rules. They have also stay out at night despite parental prohibitions beginning before the age 13. The disturbances in behavior causes clinical significant impairment in social, academic or occupational functioning. The severity of the disorder should be specified as follows: mild, few if any conduct disorder problem in excess of those required to make the diagnosis, and conduct disorder causes only minor harm to others. Moderate, number of conduct problems and effects on other, intermediate between mild and severe. Many conduct problems in excess of those required to make the diagnose or conduct problems cause considerable harm to others. And the source of this is American Psychiatric Association. And causal factors in conduct disorder. Several factors contributed to the development of conduct disorder, a self-perpetuating cycle. Evidence has accumulated that a genetic predisposition leading to a low verbal intelligence, mild neuropsychological problems, and difficult temperament can set the stage for early onset of conduct disorder through a set of self-perpetuating mechanisms. The child's difficult temperament may lead to an insecure attachment because parents find it hard to engage in the good parenting that would promote a secure attachment. Low verbal intelligence and mild neuropsychological deficits that have documented in many of these children, some of which may involve deficiencies in self-control such as sustaining attention, planning, self-monitoring, and inhibiting unsuccessful or impulsive behavior, may help set for the stage for a lifelong course of difficulties. 3 large-scale adoption studies in Sweden, Denmark, and the United States have been conducted, but 2 of them focused on the heritability of criminal behavior rather than conduct disorder. These studies indicate that criminal and antisocial behavior is accounted for by both genetic and environmental factors. Interestingly, despite different prevalence rates for boys and girls, the evidence favoring genetic and environmental contribution to conduct disorder and antisocial behavior does not differ between boys and girls. A meta-analysis of both twin and adoption studies of antisocial behavior indicated that 40 to 50% of antisocial behavior was heritable. Evidence from twin studies indicate that aggressive behavior like cruelty, fighting, destroying property is clearly heritable, whereas other delinquent behaviors such as stealing, running away may not be. Other evidence suggests that the time when antisocial and aggressive behavior problems begin is related to heritable, neuropsychological factors, and autonomic nervous system. Neuropsychological deficits are implicated in the childhood profiles of children with conduct disorders. These deficits include poor verbal skills, difficulty with execute functioning, the difficulty to anticipate, plan, use self-control, and solve problems, and problems with memory. In addition, children who develop conduct disorder at an early stage have an IQ score of 1 standard deviation below age-matched peers without conduct disorder, and this IQ deficit is apparently not attributable to lower socioeconomic status or school failure. Other studies indicate that autonomic nervous system abnormalities are associated with antisocial behavior in adolescents. Specifically, lower level of skin conduction and heart rate are found among adolescents with conduct disorder, suggesting that they have lower arousal levels than adolescents without conduct disorder. Similar to the findings on adult antisocial personality disorder, these studies suggest that adolescents who exhibit antisocial behavior may not fear punishment as much as adolescents who do not show such behavior. Thus, these children may be more likely to behave in antisocial ways without the fear that they will get caught. The fear of getting caught keeps most children from breaking laws. Psychological and socio-cultural factors. Another important part of typical child development is the growth of moral awareness, the acquisition of a sense of what is right and wrong, and the ability, even desire, to abide by rules and norms. Most people refrain from hurting others not only because it is illegal but because it would make them feel guilty to do otherwise. Children with conduct disorder seem to be deficient in this moral awareness, lacking remorse for their wrongdoings. Behavioral therapies that look to both modeling and operant conditioning provide useful explanation of the development and maintenance of conduct problems. For example, children who are physically abused by parents are likely to be aggressive when they grow up. Children may also imitate aggressive acts seen elsewhere, such as on TV. Since aggression is often an effective, unpleasant means of achieving a goal, it is likely to be reinforced. So, aggressive behavior is likely to be maintained. Modeling may help explain the onset of delinquent behavior among adolescents who had not previously shown conduct problems. Perhaps these adolescents imitate the behavior of persistently antisocial peers who are seen as enjoying high status possessions and sexual opportunities. In addition, parenting characteristics such as harsh and inconsistent discipline and lack of monitoring are consistently associated with antisocial behavior in children. Perhaps children who do not experience negative consequences for early misbehaving later develop more serious conduct problems. Investigators generally seem to agree that the family setting of a conduct disordered child is typically characterized by ineffective parenting, rejection, harsh and inconsistent discipline, and often parental neglect. Frequently, the parents have an unstable marital relations, are emotionally disturbed or sociopathic, and do not provide the child with consistent guidance, acceptance, or affection. Even if the family is intact, the child feels overtly rejected. This often leads to association with deviant peers and the opportunity for further learning of antisocial behavior. In addition to these familial factors, a number of broader psychosocial and socio-cultural variables increase the probability that a child will develop conduct disorder. Low socioeconomic status, poor neighborhood, parental stress, depression all appear to increase the likelihood child will be enmeshed in this cycle. A socio-cultural perspective on abnormal behavior comes from the work of Kenneth Dodge and Associates. Dodge has constructed a social information processing theory of child behavior that focuses on how children process information about their world and how these cognitions markedly affect their behavior. And he found that cognitive processes of aggressive children had a particular bias. These children interpreted ambiguous acts such as bound in line as evidence of hostile intent. Such perception may lead these children to retaliate aggressively for actions that may not even intended as provocative. This can create a vicious cycle, and their peers remembering these behaviors may tend to be aggressive more often against them, further angering the already aggressive children. Deficits in social information processing also predicts the antisocial behavior among adolescents. Poverty and urban living are associated with higher level of delinquency, unemployment, poor educational facilities, disrupted family life, or all contributing factors. The combination of early antisocial behavior in the child and socio-economic disadvantage in the family predict early criminal as peer influences. Investigations of how peer influences aggressive and antisocial behavior in children have focused on two broad areas: acceptance or rejection by peers, affiliation with deviant peers. Studies have shown that being rejected by peers is causally related to aggressive behavior, particularly in combination with ADHD. Other studies have shown that being rejected by peers can predict later aggressive behavior, even after controlling for prior levels of aggressive behavior. Associating with other deviant peers also increase the likelihood of delinquent behavior. Children who are aggressive and socially unskilled are often rejected by their peers. Such rejection can lead to spiraling sequence of social interaction with peers that will accelerate the tendency towards antisocial behavior. Severe conduct problems can lead to other mental health problems as well. The socially rejected subgroup of aggressive children is also at the highest risk for adolescent delinquency and probably for adult antisocial personality. Treatment of conduct disorder. The treatment of conduct disorder appears to be most effective when addressing the multiple systems involved in the life of a child, like family, peers, school, neighborhood. Family interventions. Some of the most promising approaches to treating conduct disorder involve intervening with the parents and families of the child. Evidence suggests that intervening early, if even just briefly, can make an impact. Peterson and colleagues have worked for 4 decades developing and testing a behavioral program called parent management training, in which the parents are taught to modify their responses to their children so that the pro-social rather than the antisocial behavior consistently rewarded. Parents are taught to use techniques such as positive reinforcement when the child show positive behavior and loss of privileges for aggressive and antisocial behavior. This treatment is modified by others, but in general it is the most effective intervention for children with conduct disorder. Both parents and teacher report of children's behavior and direct observation of behavior at home and at school support the program effectiveness. Parent management training programs has also shown to improve the behavior of siblings. One of the most interesting and effective treatment strategy with conduct disorder is cohesive family model. In this family group oriented approach, parents of children with conduct disorder are viewed as lacking in parental skills and as behaving in inconsistent ways, thereby reinforcing inappropriate behavior and failing to socialize the children. Children learn to escape or avoid parental criticism by escalating their negative behavior. This tactic in turn increases their parents' aversive interaction and criticism. The child observes the increased anger in his parents and models this aggressive pattern. The parental attention to the child's negative aggressive behavior actually serves to reinforce that behavior instead of suppressing it. Obtaining treatment cooperation from parents who are themselves in conflict with each other is difficult. Often, an overburdened parent who is separated or divorced and working simply does not have the resources, the time, or an inclination to learn or practice more adequate parental role. Unfortunately, children who are removed to a new environment often interpret this removal as further rejection, not only by their parents but also by the society as well. Unless the changed environment offers a warm, kindly, and accepting yet consistent and firm settings, such children are likely to make little progress. Even then, treatment may only a temporary effect. Behavioral techniques. The advent of behavioral therapy techniques has made the outlook brighter for children who manifest conduct disorder. Teaching control techniques to the parents of such children is particularly important so that they can function as therapists in reinforcing desirable behavior and modifying the environmental conditions that have been reinforcing maladaptive behavior. The changes brought when parents consistently accept and reward their children's positive behavior and stop focusing on the negative behavior may finally change their perception of and feeling towards the child, leading to the basic acceptance that the child has to be badly needed. After effective techniques for behavioral management can be taught to parents, they often have difficulty carrying out treatment plans, and if this is the case, other techniques such as family therapy or parental counseling are used to ensure that the parents or person responsible for the child discipline is sufficiently assertive to follow through on the program. Summary. In conduct disorder, a child engages in persistent, aggressive, or antisocial acts. The possible cause of conduct disorder includes a genetic predisposition, inadequate learning of moral awareness, modeling, and direct reinforcement of antisocial behavior, negative peer influences, and living in impoverished and crime hidden areas. The most promising approach to treating young people with conduct disorder involves intensive intervention in multiple systems, including the family, school, and peer system.